The stat. Welcome. The events of our film begin today in the year 1999, on Halloween, with 3 children. We know that they are also childhood friends, but they are very naughty and love to play pranks on people. This time, they decide to play a prank on people who do not agree to distribute sweets to them, and they go to the door of their house, leaving a bag in front of them. There is animal droppings, and the bell rings, and they go out to run. They also stand far away to see what will happen, and they are waiting for the owner of the house to open the door and try to put out the fire, and then the droppings are what will come upon him. But they are surprised that no one came out, and the fire began to spread everywhere, and it also caught fire. The statue and then I reached the sofa. They became afraid and went to try to extinguish it, but they failed as they controlled it. One of them tried to extinguish the bag that had fire in it, but excrement came out of it and fell on his friends. He became estranged and fell into the evil of their deeds. One of them entered to ask for help from the owners of the house, but he did not find anything. Someone inside and outside also ran away before anyone saw them, but they thought of an idea like this. And they also decided to write the name of a fictional character in order to put this charge on her. And he took off their t-shirt and wrote Ricky's name on it to make people think that he was the one who did this. After that, they leave the place and he runs away, and then the police arrive and Hack is gone. They see the t-shirt with the name Ricky on it, but they do not find anyone with that name, and the children stand far away and are happy about what happened. They read that any misfortune they do is dressed up in the fictional character they invented, and as the years pass, they continue to prank people, such as throwing fireworks at homes, or, for example, destroying cars. They attack bee nests and many other pranks, and every time they write Ricky's name and wear it, it is the misfortune they caused. After 20 years. The friends grow up, and we see one of them named Dan. And we learn that he married a broadcaster named Irene. But she is disappointed because she is not famous and he also lets her cover events that are not important at all, but Dean tries to calm down. On her behalf, he tells her that he is confident in her talent, and after that, his second friend, John, visits them, and he also marries Susan, and his wife is pregnant and about to give birth. And he breaks up. The 4 of them throw a baby shower and celebrate together, but suddenly a call comes to Dean from a person named Ricky, and he does not want to answer, but his wife says he told him that he called him more than once, and it was definitely something important, so White flew to answer him, and his facial features changed. And it seemed that he was sad, and when he asked him for his money, he told them that his friend, Ricky, was tired and had an operation outside the country, and there was no one by his side. So she began to tell his wife about what she heard and asked him to go with John. They stand next to their friend and pretend that they do not want to, because Susan is about to give birth and of course they must also be there on a day like this. But she tells them that Ricky is their best friend and he is in need too, so of course they must stay with him at a time like this and reassured that it is still early for her birthday. So they were convinced. In her words, he leaves the house and they are happy, and their third friend, Wiz, is waiting for them in Arabic, and he judges on the basis that he is Ricky. And we know that this is a plan they made, and that they also wrote to their wives to go on a trip together, and they also attend a party with someone else, and they board the plane. And they decide to turn off their mobile phones so that no one can reach them and leave. They write a book for the imaginary character Ricky, and they write in it all the details of his life and any books they did to make this plan come true. They also write an email in the name of this imaginary friend of theirs, and they also post pictures of his face that is not visible in it. They also write posts that serve their books, and they are happy with the success of their plan. After that, they arrive in the city and he attends the party. They spend a nice time with each other and they are happy, and then they go to order drinks, and here a person named Rod appears, and we learn that he is a failed actor and addicted to alcohol. And that is why the employee is sold in a bad way, so he tries to talk to 3 friends and tells them that the place where he performs his shows is also acting scenes in front of them. One of his roles is that he does, but they are not impressed and they also try to avoid him, but he wants to get close to them, and this is because he is alone and does not have any friends. But John does it in a bad way and is far from the place, so he makes Rod angry and leaves and walks away. And he gets a debt of guilt because his friend was very cruel to him and goes to him to apologize too. He tells him that his friend did not mean it and that he is nervous because his wife is about to give birth and asks him not to be upset. But Rod tells him that he is getting used to it because this is not the first time someone has done this because everyone always sees him as a failure and not talented. But he is confident in himself and certain that he will succeed one day. I also give him his card so that if he wants to attend his shows, then he leaves it and walks away. I am surprised by Dean's personality, and I am also surprised by his personality, so that he returns to his friends, but he sees a dog that looks exactly like his own dog. So he opens his mobile phone to take a picture of him, but they are surprised. I sent him many messages and tried to call him more than once, and he knows Susan is going to be born early and they don't know how to reach John, so he runs to his friend and swallows what happened. They fly away from the place and also go to the airport and board the first plane and return to the city they live in. He arrives at the hospital that Susan is in. When they enter, they are surprised that she has given birth, and John is happy and prefers to babysit his son, but his mother-in-law is angry because he did not attend her daughter's birth, and she also continues to lure him into talking to find out where he was. She also tells him that she went to all the hospitals and did not find anyone with the name Ricky. She also asks about the truth of his illness, so the friends get nervous and the eggs start telling another story, and she also tells him that their friend Ricky deceived them. Also, he was not sick or anything, and he only wanted them to attend his birthday party, so their mobile phones were switched off. But his mother-in-law was still suspicious of him and told him that she wanted to meet their friend Ricky at his son's purification party. So John tried to evade her and also told her that Ricky he is busy and might not know how to attend the party, but she tells him that he is their close friend and of course he must attend the party. Otherwise she will be considered lying, so Dean tells her that he will convince Ricky to attend the party. And the next day the friends gather together to think about new books to do and save themselves from the predicament they are in and are in. They are also confused and do not know how to act. I want to tell them that they will admit the truth, but John refuses because if his wife finds out that he lied to her, she will be upset with him, and she may also ask for a divorce. And thus his life will be ruined. He remembers the card debt that was taken from Rod and that he is killing them. They ask him to play the role of Ricky and attend the party, and then he walks away. So they convinced Clum about the idea and he agreed. At this time, Rod is presenting a theatrical show and he is wearing very strange clothes and singing, but no one in the audience is interested because his voice is very bad and he can't even act. When the show ends, he goes backstage to change his clothes, but the worker tells him there are two people looking for him, and when he sees them, they are afraid that he runs. And it seems that he is running away from something, because he also has to jump from the kitchen window, and he gets a call from Dean, and he tells him about his offer, and Rod is happy. But he pretends that he is busy, and he also tells him that he will see his agenda, and then he tells him that he agrees. He takes the address from him and promises him that he will come on time, and then we see Irene presenting a news bulletin, but because she is not famous, they ask her to cover the birth of a duck. So she keeps standing in front of her, and Dean goes to her and wants them to have lunch together, but she responds to him and tells him that she cannot walk before the duck. It does not move from its place, and here Dean uses his intelligence and asks his dog to scare the duck, but the opposite happens, and the duck becomes very ferocious and hits the dog and sucks in the water to drown it. And here Dean is shocked and tries to jump after it to save it, and while he gets it out at the right time, but all his clothes get wet and he leaves his wife and walks away. 3 days later, he goes with his friends to the airport to receive Rod. He tells them that I sent him Ricky's book so he could study the character, and Rod delivers to them, but they are surprised that he is in a bad state. And Payne is also tired and thinks he is drinking something. But he tells them that he stopped drinking because Ricky's character does not drink alcohol and that the one who these are just withdrawal symptoms. They were afraid that he had epilepsy or something. They gave him his wallet and he bit into it. Then he would ride in the car with them, and Rod would impersonate Ricky to the point that they asked him to drink to get back to normal. But he refused in order to do the right thing and take his whiz home to clean himself up. He changes his clothes because he is the only one who is not married, and the next day the party comes again and the doctor arrives who is coming to purify the child. But his blood is heavy and he keeps saying very big things, so he has eggs. John and his friend tolerate him, but then they are surprised that their manager is coming to the party and taking advantage of him, because no one has determined him but Susan. She tells them that she is the one who invited him, and she also asks them to go and say hello to him. They started doing that and they are afraid of him. We know that his name is Sam, and he is the manager of the bank where they work. Then his mother-in-law, John, keeps asking them about their friend Ricky, and she suspects that they are writing it, and she also keeps asking them many questions about him. But suddenly, Rod arrives, impersonating Ricky, and he keeps joking and greeting them one by one. He also knows them all from the book he read, and anyone who asks him a question he answers with complete confidence. He also apologizes to Susan for not letting her husband attend the moment his son was born, and he also tells her that he is the reason and is leaving her. She also forgives him, and everyone admires his personality and is happy with his presence, except for his mother-in-law, John, who is still suspicious of him and also tries to interrogate him in order to convince him to talk, but Dean takes him away from her and comes away from her because it is not easy and she might expose him, and Rod starts talking to the people at the party and Bindu. And they also very much love entertaining stories. The one who tells it is that Sam, their manager, goes and talks to him to get to know him, but Rod talks to him about his work and also tells him about a deal he is making with a second company that will make him succeed and make more profits. Here, Sam admires his intelligence and kills himself with his words, and Dean is fascinated by what he heard and takes him away, and they ask how he knew the information. All of this is so Rod tells him that he is an actor and he must play the role, so he collects information about the people at the party in order to know everything about them, and after that he leaves it and goes to get to know the rest of the people, because Ricky's character is supposed to be social and likes to get to know people easily, but John B's mother-in-law is taking advantage. The opportunity also goes to him to talk to him, and she also asks him about his trips, and she also asks him to tell her about his adventures. There is tension in Rod's house and he does not know how to answer her, so Dean and his friends try to save him from her under the pretext that they want to take pictures with him, but his mother-in-law calls him out loud and asks him to answer her questions. He who will be a liar and not be offended has her words and is very exploitative, but Rod is shocked and unable to answer all her questions, and he also burns in front of people. John and his friends are impressed by what he is doing, and they also know that he is a talented and divided actor. He is very successful, but suddenly a person enters the party and Rod is afraid when he sees him and tells them he knows him, and he is also afraid of his friends because their plan might unfold, and he is also plotting a prank that they are doing to this person in order to get rid of him. And they are playing with him. They throw 3 peanuts at him, and if he succeeds in eating them without using his hand, he will take $100. So he agrees to the challenge, and he stays away and starts the game again and throws it. He has the first 2 pills and he says he eats them. But the third time they throw him an anesthetic pill so he can sleep until the party is over, but suddenly the doctor arrives who will purify the child and he is the one who eats it. So the friends are bleeding because of what happened. When the time for purification comes, the doctor grabs the scissors and approaches the child while he is dizzy and unable to do so. He is conscious and continues to hallucinate, and John and his friends are terrified for the child and afraid that something will happen to him. Fortunately, the doctor faints and goes out inside, but unfortunately the party was going to be ruined and one of those present was killed. Ricky is the one who completes the ablution because he worked in a charitable organization and did these things for a very long time. And of course, this was one of the books they didn't know, but Rod saves the situation and tells them that he agrees to do that, but the friends are afraid for the child and also try to make an excuse. And they were like that in front of his father-in-law, John, but at some point they are discussing, Rod succeeds in actually purifying the child, and here everyone is impressed by his work. The party ends and the day goes well. After that, Rod gets ready to go and also thanks his friends for what he did. He was sold on his great acting talent. After that, I give him the account for the role and he invites again, but he is still in the role and is upset that he will never see it again. After that, he leaves it and walks, and at night the friends celebrate. The mission was successful, and today is already going well, and they cancel the books and do not bring them a second Ricky biography, but they do not know that the matter has not been resolved yet. The next day, they go to the bank where they work, but the manager invites them into his office and also talks to them about the party, and that he was very happy about it and tells them he admired the personality of their friend, Ricky, and that he also had work experience. That is why they were employed with them in the bank, so Sadmo's house was one of the things they heard and did not realize that the books they had made had turned into a nightmare that could haunt them for the rest of their lives. Because they knew that he was acting and did not know anything about the work of the bank, and all this information He brought it over the internet and looked at the bank's entrance while he was wearing a suit and did not meet his friends. They talk to him and ask him to submit his resignation and get the job because he has no experience, but he refuses and tells them that it is impossible for him to let this opportunity pass him by. And that the manager also agreed with him on a very large salary and is asking them for it. They return the favor he did for them and help you too. How is work going? Suddenly an employee comes and tells Dean that his wife is waiting for him in his office and wants to meet him, so he is going to go to her. As soon as she sees him, she hugs him and tells him that she finally got the offer she dreamed of and that she will be a broadcaster on a very famous program and that they agreed to it. But on the condition that she must do the first episode with Ricky, because she told them adventures and they liked them. Dean was shocked by whoever heard him and did not know what to do, because the story of Ricky's life is fake and they are the ones who are bored. At night, he gathers with his friends, and Rod begins to get closer to knowing them, and they are also in their lives, and the friends are upset by his presence. They also think of a way to get rid of him, and they decide to expose him in front of the manager so that he can fire him. The next day, he begins their plan, and he is in a meeting at the bank, and he asks the manager about any new ideas. Dean keeps asking Rod a lot of questions about work. Rod's house becomes tense and he doesn't know how to answer, and he starts saying anything, and it kills them. They donate a portion of their profits to the poor because people love them and trust them. So Dean and his friend criticized him for what he said and they were confident that the manager would reject this, but they were shocked that he liked the idea and agreed to it, instead of being fired. He also received a reward. After the meeting, the manager decided to let his assistant go and also attend his place at all meetings. He also asks John and Dean to carry out all his orders for him at Saddam's house because they failed in their plan, so he is stuck with them. More than before, Rod goes and talks to them and asks them to help him with the work, but Dean gets angry and takes him to the warehouse and fights with him and asks him to submit his resignation. Who will regret it and also threatens that he will report him. Everyone knows that he is a fictional character, not real, but Rod. Barry has his card and tells him that he has changed his name and officially remains Rick, their friend, and tells him that he was a failure and did not have a life, and suddenly he has a life, a respectable job, and people who love him. And asks him to support him and stand by him so that he does not return to his life again. The old one, Best Dean, is in his words, but he is confused and does not know how to take a decision, so White Tar Rod confesses the truth to him and tells him that the two who are chasing him want to get rid of him, and if he returns to them, his life will be in danger, and Peter is also ready to help him. So Dean is surprised by his words and does not know what to do anymore. So he leaves him and walks and stays up late with his friend, and he also keeps drinking to forget, and he is afraid that his wife would hate him if she knew the truth. Because she is the most precious person to him, and he does not want to lose her, but his friend tells him to confess the truth to her and is sure that she will forgive him. And he kills a debt with his words, and he returns home and they tell his wife the truth, and he keeps waiting for her too until she comes back from work, but they are surprised when she also tells him that she wrote to him about her work. And she was testing to find out if he would tell her the truth or continue lying, and she would be upset with him, and by deciding to leave the house and stay away from him, she would ruin a debt in what he did, and the next day would be the date of the conference in which the manager would announce that she would partner with him in the new company. Dean goes and stays with his friends and tells them that he intends to confess everything because after losing his wife, he is no longer able to continue lying any longer. He goes on stage and tells people that the character of Ricky is not real and they invented it, and that Rod is a failed actor. They agreed with him so that he could assume his character and make them happy in their clerks, but the manager gets angry because he deceived him, and he and his friend also report from work. But suddenly he sees on television a program that talks about Ricky and they are making a report about him, and he is also a host on the program, and Rod is sitting with the announcer and is looking at everything from the beginning, and I was sold to him that he already has no personality from the beginning. Any presence, and he tells him that he was an obscure actor who was convicted and his friends met him and found it difficult and they also decided to stand by him and also gave him a book containing everything about Ricky's character in order to transform him from a failed person to a successful person, and that they were also able to change his life and treat him from addiction and help him get to the job he is in, and he thanks the director because he knew the truth. He agreed to give him a second chance, and he would work for him and also do publicity for his company.